Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, so as usual, we're going to open up and come out to try and wake up our people. But before we start, we want to give all praises to
Yahweh,
Ahcyam, Yahushai, Waha, Rakah, Qadash.
Yeah, double honors to the elders and apostles in Israel who rule and teach well, to the Ahcyams on the highways and byways and those pushing videos in truth and sincerity, and to the brothers and sisters in the truth that's laboring to try and do the will of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. Yeah, so, my brothers then, they're going to teach on John 3:16 because that's something that catches a lot of our people. Coming from out of the world, you're told that God loves everybody, and that's a verse that everyone can recite, but the breakdown is wrong. Like precepts don't match the breakdown that we talk. So the brothers, they're going to, so the brothers then, they're going to, break that down for us,
Yeah, bro, Ak. Yeah, go on.
You want us to bring out?
We need to the Bibles.
Yeah, one of the brothers bring out Hebrews chapter 1 verse 2.
Hebrews 1 and 2, yeah? So this is the book of Hebrews chapter 1. Get there. Chapter 1 and verse 2. And it reads, "Hath in these last days spoken unto us by his Son, whom he have appointed heir of all things, by whom also he made the worlds."
So that just lets you know that the world that is talking about in John 3:16. So that just lets you know that there's multiple worlds. So you've got the media world, you've got the football world, you've got different sorts of worlds, you've got the entertainment world. So what's the world in John 3:16 really talking about? It's really talking about the world of Israel. And you've got that in the book of Isaiah chapter 45 verse 7. I believe it is.
This is Isaiah chapter 45 verse 17. It says, "But Israel shall be saved in the Lord with an everlasting salvation. Ye shall not be ashamed nor confounded, world without end."
That lets you know what the world is talking about. It's talking about the world of Israel. And the world of Israel is a world without end. The Most High didn't come, the Yahushua didn't come to save the whole world. We even got another precept in, get me the book of John chapter 17 verse 9. Yahushua is going to tell you that he's not praying for the world.
Right.
He's praying for the elect.
This is John 17 and verse 9. It says, "I pray for them, I pray not for the world, but for them which thou hast given me, for they are thine."
It's only for the most. He's only praying for the elect of Israel. That's who the Most High gave him. That lets you know that there's multiple worlds, and you can't really get. Sometimes you can get a bit bamboozled by the English translation. So that's why you got to go into the Hebrew, the Greek, and really get the understanding.
That's right.
So yeah, just to add on to what the brother was saying, that what these Christians do is just perpetuate a whole bunch of confusion and also misinterpretation as to what John 3:16 says, because in John 3:16 it talks about how God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten Son, those who believe shall not perish but have everlasting life. But then how can someone bring up James 4 verse 4 and John 2 15, 16?
John 2, 15, 16.
James chapter 4 and verse 4. James 4 and 4? James 4 and 4. "Ye adulterers and adulteresses, know ye not that the friendship of the world is enmity with the Most High? Whosoever therefore will be a friend of the world is the enemy of the Most High."
So there you go. So that's letting you know already what type of world he's talking about. Because as we know that the scriptures cannot contradict itself. Because how can Yahweh say he so loved the world, but then yet he's saying to Israel that if you're friends with the world, it makes you an enemy to God. So that doesn't make sense in itself. You know what I mean? So that world, that in itself, just let you know what world that he's talking about. There's a special group of people and only one, and that's the world of Israel that Yahweh was talking about, and not the whole world of every race and nation.
Yes. So this is the book of John, chapter 2, verses 15 and 16. And it reads, "And when he made a scourge of small cords, he drove them out." 2, 15 and 16.
Yeah, 1 John 2, 15.
Yeah. "And when he had made a scourge of small cords, he drove them all out of the temple, and the sheep and the oxen and poured out the changers money and overthrew the tables. Verse 16.
No, 1 John.
Oh, 1 John.
Yeah.
First John, yeah.
1 John.
I got it. 1 John
You
2
got it. Yeah.
and 15.
Right.
Says, love not the world, neither the things that are in
Exactly.
the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him.
That's right.
For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, and the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life is not of the Father, but is of the world.
That's right.
There you go. Again, that further perpetuates what the brother was saying moments before, how there's different types of world. You've got the sports world, you've got the entertainment world, you've got the music world, you know, you've got the media world, etc. There's different types of worlds. So that's letting you know what type of world, again, what John was talking about, John 3:16. So that's the differentiation right there. And also, again, 45 verse 17 in Isaiah, when he talks about Israel will be saved with everlasting salvation and will be found gold of our end. And again in Hebrews 1 and 2, there's the plural for the term world, so it's talking about world. So again, there's more than one world, and also just further perpetuates the fact that John's talking about the world of Israel, not the whole world that what is Christian perpetuated to be.
Can't.
Can I bring this out
Yes.
to quickly speak on? This is Psalms chapter 47 and verse 4. He shall choose our inheritance for us, the excellency of Jacob, who he loved.
What I want to do, I want to show you.
Yes, I want you to now. Yes.
Remember, it says, for God so loved the world. So the reason why the brother brought that out, most people forget that he said, for God so loved. So, who does the Bible actually teach that the Most High loves? If you even look at the world, who does he say he loves? Bring that out. And someone get 1 Kings 10 and 9.
So this is what I say. This is Psalms 47 and verse 4. He shall choose our inheritance for us, the excellency of Jacob, whom he loved.
Read that one.
Oh, yeah, you look.
You got a phone? Read that piece and you can read that as well.
Yeah. Grab that precept, yeah. Follow that. Psalms
No, read
47.
it.
Psalms
The
47
next one.
Yeah.
Psalms 47 verse 4. He shall choose our inheritance for us, the excellency of Jacob, whom he loved.
So it says, for God so loved the world. Like, when you read the Bible, outside of that John 3:16, which is misquoted, you won't find another precept where the Most High is saying he loves any nation outside of Israel.
right.
That's just
That's
one.
right.
So bring out 1 Kings 10 and 9.
This is the book of 1 Kings 10 and 9.
Yeah.
It says, blessed be the Lord thy God, which delighted in thee, to set thee on the throne of Israel, because the Lord loved Israel forever.
Yeah, and there's various precepts. You've got Deuteronomy 7 and 8 showing you that the Most High only loves Israel. So even from that first line, it says, for God so loved, you'll only ever find him teaching that he loves Israel. That says, for God so loved the world. The brothers brought out Hebrews 1 and 2, let you know that there's more than one world. Grab John 18 and 20. Because the Bible actually explains itself. Yeah, we don't need to give you our own understanding. We just need to know where to find the precepts. So let's see what world is speaking about. And get our Wisdom of Solomon 18.
Wisdom of Solomon 18.
Read that. John 18.
This is the book of John, chapter 18, verse 20. It says, Yahushua answered him, I spake openly to the world.
So it says, I spake openly to the world. So let's see the world that he's speaking about.
I ever taught in the synagogue.
It says, I ever taught, meaning I always taught. Because remember, that's Old English. It says, I ever taught. I always taught in the synagogue, God.
And in the temple, wherever the Jews always resort.
So the world that he's speaking to here is the world of the Jews. So I'm going to Exodus 28 for me. Bring out Wisdom of Solomon 4. So this is another precept for the world.
So okay, it's good. It's slowing it down. So this is the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 4. What verse?
18 and 4.
No, 18 verse
Chapter
24.
18, verse
18 and 24.
Yeah, the last
18
one.
and 24. This is the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 18 and verse
So
24.
what we're still touching is the world. You know, we read in John 18 and 20. I speak openly to the world. That world was the world of the Jews.
Right.
So here's another one to show that the world is only dealing with a particular group of people, not the whole entire world.
it out, yeah?
Yeah.
So this is the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 18 and verse 24. For in the long garment was the whole
It
world,
says, in the long garment was the whole world. Go on.
and in the 4 rows of the stones was the glory of the Father's graven, and thy majesty upon the diadem of his head.
So now we need to find out what that long garment is. Exodus 28 and start 15.
17.
No, 15. Start 15.
This is the book of Exodus, chapter 28 and verse 15. And thou shalt make the breastplate of judgment.
Actually, read verse 4, people. Yeah, I'll read verse 4. Oh, okay, yeah, read verse 4.
This is the book of Exodus, chapter 28 and verse 4. And it reads, and these are the garments which they shall make, a breastplate and an ephod and a robe and a broidered coat and a mitre and a girdle, and they shall make holy garments for Aaron thy brother and his sons, that he may minister unto me in the priest's office.
Jump to 15. Because remember it says in the long garment was the whole world. So we know that garment is that priestly garment. So read on.
This is Exodus 28 and 15. And thou shalt make the breastplate of judgment with cunning work, after the work of the ephod thou shalt make it, of gold, of blue, and of purple, and of scarlet, and of thine twined linen shalt thou make it. 4 it shall be, being doubled, a span shall be the length thereof, and the span shall be the breadth thereof. And thou shalt set it settings of stones.
So you still got that Wisdom of Solomon?
Yeah.
Yeah, read that 18 and 24 again.
So this is the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 18 and verse 24. For in the long garment,
The long garment, we know that garment is this priestly ephod. Go on.
was the whole world, and in the 4 rows of the stones was the glory of the Father's graven.
Now we're going to read about the four rows of stones. So read 17 again.
Exodus chapter 28 and verse 17. And thou shalt set in it settings of stones, even 4 rows of stones. The first row shall be a sardius, a topaz, and a carbuncle. This shall be the first row. And the second row shall be an emerald, a sapphire, and a diamond. And the third row a liga, and an agate, and an amethyst. And the 4th row a beryl, and an onyx, slakia, and a jasper. There shall be set in gold in their enclosings. And the stones shall be with the names of the children of Israel.
So when you look at this long garment, where it says is the whole world, we know that it's dealing with the children of Israel. So last precept, Isaiah 45 and 17, showing you that the world speaking about in John 3:16 ain't as we're taught in the Christian church about everybody. That actually brings contradiction to the scriptures.
Yep.
So Isaiah 45 and 17. And this is where Yahweh, because you have to remember that the New Testament is being taught from the Old. So this is where Yahweh Shai would really be quoted from when he speaks about for God so loved the whole world. Isaiah 45 and 17.
Did you ask me?
Oh, I thought you had it. Oh.
No, I was getting precepts.
Okay, Isaiah 45.
That's right.
No, I got it. Isaiah 45 and 17 says, but Israel, hear that name again,
That's right.
shall be saved in the Lord with an everlasting salvation. He shall not be ashamed nor confounded, world without end. So we know that Israel is a world without end. Why? Daniel 7 and 18. The saints shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever. So when you read that first line, for God so loved the world, the Bible only teaches that God only loves Israel. When you go precept on precept, it shows that the world is the Israelites. But then it says, but whosoever shall call on the name of the Lord shall be saved. So someone get Acts 2:21 to explain the whosoever.
Acts 2:21 you said?
Yeah, and someone get Joel 2:33.
Right, I'm in Acts 2. So this is Acts 2, verse 21. And it shall come to pass that whosoever shall call on the name of the Lord Yahweh shall be saved.
So this is what it said in John 3:16, that whosoever shall call on the name of the Lord shall be saved. Read on. But the pastors, they don't really read on. They just stop there, say anyone that calls on the name of the Lord can be saved. Go on.
Ye men of Israel, hear these words.
So this is who he's speaking to. Whosoever is whosoever of the men of Israel. Right. And like I said, they're teaching from the Old Testament. So let's read that same thing in the Old Testament. Joel 2:33. Last verse.
32.
Oh, 32.
So this is the book of Job, chapter 2, verse 32. And it shall come to pass that whosoever shall call on the name of the Lord shall be delivered. For in Mount Zion,
He says, for in Mount Zion
and in Jerusalem,
and in Jerusalem. So that's where the brother read, ye men of Israel, hear these words, because that's where deliverance is for. In Mount Zion and in Jerusalem. Now, someone quickly get John 3:14. Because you have to remember that you got two Israelites.
I'm there.
Numbers 21. You got two Israelites speaking about salvation, and then they go into some Israelite history. So read verse 14.
So this is the book of John, verses 3 and verse 14. And as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, even so must the Son of Man be lifted up.
Read on.
Verse 15. That whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have eternal life.
So like I said, you got two Israelites speaking about salvation, and they go into Israelite history. So what is that history? Numbers 21 and 5.
This is the book of Numbers, chapter 21 and verse 5. And the people spake against the Most High and against Moses, wherefore have ye brought us up out of Egypt to die in the wilderness? For there is no bread, neither is there any water, and our soul loatheth this light bread. And Yahweh sent fiery serpents among the people, and they bit the people, and much people of Israel died.
You know the context is dealing with the children of Israel.
Therefore the people came to Moses and said, we have sinned, for we have spoken against the Most High and against thee. Pray unto Yahweh that he take away the serpents from us. And Moses prayed for the people. And the Lord said unto Moses, make thee a fiery serpent and set it upon a pole. And it shall come to pass that everyone that is bitten.
So it says, and it shall come to pass that everyone that is bitten, that's the same as whosoever, but everyone of who? Everyone of the children of Israel. When you keep it in context, that's what you have to do with John 3:16. Israelites are speaking about salvation. We're going to Israelite history. It says everyone that is bitten, whosoever,
when he looketh upon it shall live.
Read on.
And Moses said, and Moses made a serpent of brass and put it upon a pole, and it came to pass that if a serpent had bitten any man,
that's the same as whosoever. So you got anyone and any man, but any man of who? Any man of Israel. Yeah. So when we read John 3:16, it says, "For God so loved the world, through thy precepts I gain understanding." The precept shows that the world and who God loves is Israel.
Yeah, can I just quickly add, yeah? If you read the book of Malachi, chapter 1 and verse 2, it literally tells you, I'll read it, I have loved you, saith the Lord Yahweh. Yet you say, wherein hast thou loved us? Was not Esau Jacob's brother? Saith the Lord, yet I love Jacob. Now Jacob's name was then changed to Israel. So this verse is telling you that the Lord loves Israel.
And then verse 1, it lets you know it's dealing with Israel.
Yeah, and then when you read John chapter 3, the first verse, it lets you know, well, verse 1 and verse 2, it lets you know that there was a man of the Pharisees named Nicodemus, a ruler of the Jews, so he would be a chief Pharisee, and he came, let me just read it, verse 2. The same came to Jesus, Yahushua, by night, and said unto him, Rabbi, we know that thou art a teacher, came from God, Yahweh power, for no man can do these miracles that thou dost except God be with him. So basically, this was a leader of the Jews speaking with Yahushua privately. So the context was Israel, about Israel, for Israel. There was no other context. So that's just what I want to tell you.
Brothers want to make any closing statements?
Yeah, so I'm
16
What the brother brought out in the book of Malachi, chapter 1, verse 2, in reference to Esau.
That's right.
The Apostle Paul further expounds on that in the book of Romans, chapter 9, verse 13.
That's right.
It says, Jacob
have I loved.
One of the brothers can
Yeah, I'll bring it out, yeah, because that's one of my favorite precepts. So I usually always bring that one up. So this is the book of Romans, chapter 9 and verse 13. Start 11. Chapter 9 and verse 11. For the children being not yet born, neither having done any good or evil, that the purpose of God, Yahweh power, according to election, might stand.
So
Not of works.
Hold on, just to quickly add on that, where it says the purpose of Yahweh might stand. Not
Yeah.
because there was anything that they had done, so there was a purpose that the Most High had.
Yeah, according to election might stand, not of works, but of him that calleth. Verse 12. It was said unto her, the elder shall serve the younger. Verse 13. As it is written, Jacob have I loved, and it's written in Malachi 1, 2, and 3. As it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated.
So if the Most High hates Esau, then it doesn't make sense for the Most High to love the whole world, the whole entire world, every single nation. That just doesn't make sense. That will make the Most High contradict himself.
That's right.
And people try and make a distinction between the Old Testament and the New Testament, but it's not. You can't make a distinction.
That's right.
It just simply goes to the Old Covenant and the New Covenant.
So it's a lot better.
You can read about the New Covenant in the book of Hebrews, chapter 8, verse 8.
That's right.
Down to 13.
That's right. You want me to read it? Or you just quote it?
We got 2 minutes left.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, just to add on to the whole Esau dynamic, it also in Malachi it states that he has indignation against Esau, against people
Forever. Like I will Ahcyam.
And then obviously if you go to Malachi chapter 3 verse 6, it says, I am the Lord, I change not.
I change not, that's
so
right.
nothing changes at all.
That's
Whatever's
right.
in the Old Testament is going to directly correlate with the New Testament
That's
as
right.
well. And there's no contradiction whatsoever.
That's right. So yeah, hopefully you get the understanding of that, John 3:16, because that's one of the biggest misquoted.
It's one of the biggest
scriptures
stumbling blocks in Israel. I would
in the
say.
Bible. That with Galatians 3:28. There's no Jews or
Greeks, yeah.
Greeks, But yeah, with that Israel, we're going to close out. We're going to give all praises to
Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Wahab, Rakab, Kadash.
Shalom, Ya Shalom.
We out.
That's right. You got it?
Did you get